Hey drivers, welcome back to the Standard Line, the show where we talk about the broader topics of sim racing. Today I want to start with the topic, how do we get more drivers into sim racing? Because I think most of us would agree that we want this hobby to grow. We want more drivers, more competition, more companies investing in sim racing. But if we actually want that to happen, I think there are some things that we really need to change. Obviously, cost is part of the problem. We'll talk about that in a moment, but first there's another barrier that I think we don't talk about enough, and that's us, the community itself. And before anybody takes that the wrong way, I love this community. I've met some incredibly helpful people. People answer questions, they show you different tips, they show you how to get a little faster, they share car setups. People are generally pretty cool, but there's another side to it. And I think we've all probably seen it. That's not a real simulator. That's not a real sim racing title. That's Simcade. You shouldn't be playing that. You need a direct drive wheel. You're playing with a controller. Turn the assist off. You're not really driving if you don't have all the assist off. Time and time again, there are toxic comments like that in the industry. So with comments like that, have we accidentally made people feel like there's a minimum requirement to becoming a sim racer? I want you to sit back and think, what was your first wheel? It probably wasn't direct drive. If you're new, maybe it was, especially after my last video, but it probably wasn't a direct drive wheel. It was probably something like an old Logitech Momo or a Logitech G920, something like that, right? It's quite possible you didn't even have force feedback. You know, when my first time with sim racing, it was way back. Actually, I'm not going to talk that far back, but it was just the old Papyrus game, and I didn't have a wheel. I didn't even have a game controller hooked up. I was using a keyboard. It was like an indie car game my dad had got. It was so cool because I could see the potential. I could see how realistic it was. But I wasn't able to fully experience what sim racing was with a keyboard. It also was very intimidating. It was scary. I was like, oh man, I'm kind of entering a world that I don't feel comfortable in. There's so many settings. There's so many different things. The car is doing stuff that I'm not used to. I can't turn this corner as quickly as I used to. It wasn't like the arcade titles that I was used to. So if someone came to me and was like, you don't have the right equipment, keep moving on, I probably would have been just completely gave up on it. And in fact, I didn't jump into sim racing right away. I went right back to some other titles. But it was shortly after that that I discovered Gran Turismo 2, which was absolutely incredible and blew my mind. And I was on a game controller. I didn't get a wheel until I started playing Crazy Taxi on the Dreamcast. So that was my very first wheel that I purchased, and I thought it was so awesome. But it was an arcade game, and if you guys know what Crazy Taxi is, it is so wildly out there in terms of physics. It literally has no semblance of realism in it, but I enjoyed it and it was fun, and I felt like I was driving a car and going around and picking up people and delivering them to different places like Pizza Hut and whatnot. It was awesome until my cousin broke it because he's too strong. He literally snapped the wheel in half. He was gripping it so tight and just went crack, and it just went over, and that was it. I didn't get another wheel until the Xbox 360. But then Forza Motorsport 3 and Forza Motorsport 4 came along. And my buddy Matt came over, and we just went crazy with that. I broke out the wheel, and we started using that, and I never looked back. And that was my entry into Simcade, sim-ish territory, was with really driving a wheel on Forza Motorsport 3 and 4. I really didn't get a taste of true sim racing until I jumped to Assetto Corsa. And back then, I had a MacBook Pro. I wasn't able to run Assetto Corsa at its full capacity. It was pretty weak. Macs back then weren't really designed for gaming either. But I found a way to get it to work through some software that allowed my computer to run Windows, and it was good enough. And I got a taste for it. And at that point, I was like, well, I really need to get this game for Xbox. Yes, I was a console gamer. That's another thing. People are like, you play a console, you're not a true sim racer. There's all these other better titles on PC, which is true. There are better titles on PC, but should that be a reason that they shouldn't try out Assetto Corsa on Xbox just because it doesn't have mods? That's what got me into it. Dirt Rally 2 as well. That sunk me in deeper. Once I was playing Dirt Rally 1, I eventually was like, okay, I just have to get a PC at some point. So I did eventually, but I did it when I had the money for it, when I had the time to invest in it. Not a lot of people can just jump into this hobby right away. And we can't gatekeep and keep them out just because they haven't been able to acquire this or play this sim or try that. Let them go at their pace and actually give them tips and help them along a little bit. Seriously, we forget what the experience was like when we first started driving, many of us. The first time you felt force feedback, the first time the wheels started counter-steering your hands, the first time you caught a slide, that moment where you thought, wait, I actually did that? I actually controlled that? That is a great feeling. And I want more people to experience that. So how can we do that? Well, as we just discussed, don't gatekeep. Help people out in the hobby, help them see the different titles that are out there, and be that positive person in the chat room. If they're playing on a controller, that's fine. Don't diss them. You can tell them that they can try a wheel. Show them the different wheels that are out there, especially one that has force feedback. And if not that, also show them different titles. Show them how to install Assetto Corsa, or how to buy it on Xbox, and what cars to try out first. Give them tips. Help them along a little bit, and show them the ropes. So another thing is, show them different games out there, or different sims that are really great entryway games. And one of those I already mentioned was Assetto Corsa. Excellent, because it has all the mods, it has all these different possibilities when you're on PC, but also it is accessible on Xbox, on PlayStation, and people can own that experience and drive that experience. Well, I don't know if they'll be able to own these experiences going forward, since everything's going digital, but in any case, you know what I mean. They'll be able to actually experience different types of cars in a broad variety just in Assetto Corsa alone. Then you have other games like BeamNG. Wow, what a perfect title for people transitioning from arcade to sim, because it has crazy level dynamic physics, it has crumple zones, it has arcade-like world challenges, which is really cool and something that they're actually used to doing. But not only that, that title can go a lot deeper. You can experience all kinds of varieties of racing or driving in general, such as crawling, GT cars, drifting. There's so much on that game. And honestly, today, if I was going to recommend someone play a title, I would probably push them between BeamNG and Assetto Corsa, if not both, if they can afford it on a Steam sale. And then the next one is Forza Motorsport. Yes, I know it's not getting much support right now. Who knows how long they'll keep those servers up. It could be for a number of years, but owning any of the Forza Motorsports is a great starting point. Yes, I know some of you may think, that's not real sim racing, that's a simcade. But no, it's a great spot, as well as Gran Turismo to start. It gets you familiar with many of the cars. You can actually feel the difference between the cars out there. It does have actual real racing, although there are a lot of rammers and things like that in those titles because there's not enough to penalize them. And like I said earlier, Forza Motorsport was my actual first gateway. That was the one that really made me use a wheel all the time. Before that, with Forza Motorsport 1, 2, and a little bit of 3, I used a controller. But once I started using a wheel with that title, I went all the way because it was good enough. It actually felt like I was driving a car, at least to me at the time. You can take a look at my video of my first reactions to that sim. I was actually pretty impressed. It felt very good, especially like front wheel drive cars on that title for some reason. They felt really good. It felt just like driving a Honda Civic. I own a RSX Type S actually, and I drove a Honda Civic Type R on that game, which are very similar platforms. And it felt just like it. It felt like I was really rolling through the gears of my own car. So pretty much, don't shut the door on people trying out Forza, playing with the controller, and doing some of these other things that some sim racers do look down upon. So the next thing I want to talk about is teaching people how to drive for real. You guys see constantly on this channel, I'm talking about learning how to drive stick or manual. Please watch my video on that. I do have lessons here on how to drive in a sim racing title. But also another thing that's not taught enough is teaching proper racecraft. Like how to race between other cars, how to overtake, when to overtake, how to take proper racing lines, how to look down the road instead of looking immediately in front of your vehicle, things like that. People don't teach that enough. And all these topics I cover in my new book, The Standard of Driving, a sim racing guide to control, consistency, and speed. Check it out on my website, drivestandardbrand.com. So yeah, if you spend time teaching new drivers how to race, what titles to play, and to not gatekeep just because they don't have the right equipment, I think the hobby is going to continue to grow. And with that, drivers, I'll leave it with that one. It's pretty short, I know. But as always, I hope you enjoyed this one. Drive safe and save it for the track.